It's about 7:20. We will reconvene an open session, this regular meeting of the Waco ISD Board of Trustees. We've been in closed session under sections 551.071 and 551.074 of the Texas Government Code, and no action was taken. Thank you for your attendance again tonight. As I tell you every month, we genuinely and sincerely appreciate your interest in and your support of the Waco Public Schools. We can't do what we do without the support of this community, and we very much appreciate your continued prayers and support. I will also remind you that the board's purpose is to set goals, listen to reports, approve budgets, contracts, and personnel appointments, and to make policy for the district. We are not here to make management decisions or solve problems, as management is the responsibility of the administration. We don't have a huge crowd tonight, but if you have your cell phone or other electronic device, if you would silence it or turn it off at this time, we'd appreciate it so we can get through the meeting as quickly as possible. We're also going to jump around and take a couple of things out of order on the agenda, but we'll get through it as quickly as possible. So we'll move on to item number 5 and ask that you pause for a moment of silence for prayer, contemplation, reflection, or meditation. Thank you. We'll move on to item 6, Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. DeBeer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tonight, we're pleased to have 2 students from Mountain View Elementary School to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me in welcoming Zindy Taylor and Estevan Gomez. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, students. Members of the board, would you please join me in front of the dais so we can greet our pledge leaders for this evening's meeting? As I mentioned a moment ago, both of our pledge leaders attend Mountain View Elementary School. Zindy Taylor is a 5th grader at Mountain View and says that math is her favorite subject. She enjoys participating in Destination Imagination, gymnastics, and Heart of Texas soccer. She also enjoys making bracelets and reading. When Zindy grows up, she wants to become a teacher because she has loved all her teachers and she wants to help kids learn like them. Zindy's teacher says she is dependable and a great leader in the classroom. She is principled, outgoing, and very friendly. Zindy's parents, Laura and Tim Taylor, have accompanied her here tonight. Would you please stand so that we can recognize you as well? Estevan Gomez is also a 5th grader at Mountain View and says that his favorite subject is science because he likes to do projects and experiments. Estevan likes to draw, especially Pokemon, and also plays soccer with the Heart of Texas Soccer Association. When he grows up, Estevan wants to be a Major League Baseball player. Estevan's teacher says he is a natural inquirer and enjoys learning and sharing his insights with the class and others. Estevan's mother, Adriana Cruz, has joined him this evening. Would you please stand so we can recognize you too? We also want to say thank you to our Adopt-a-School partner, Barnes & Noble, for donating the gift cards that our pledge leaders are receiving tonight. And trustees, with that, I thank you for joining us to celebrate these great students.
Christie, you want to sign up? All right, the next item is audience for guests. No one signed up to speak this evening. Unless there is some objection, I'd like to take item 9A out of order, which is possible action on an interim superintendent. Is there any objection? All right. Then on item 9A, I will entertain a motion.
Mr. President,
Ms. Tika.
it is my honor and pleasure tonight to make a motion to name our interim superintendent as Dr. Hazel Rowe. Dr. Rowe is well known. Dr. Rowe is well known to this community and well loved. Dr. Rowe has served in our district as a principal, as an assistant principal, as a director, an assistant superintendent, associate superintendent, and has served us in the past as an interim superintendent. So I guess she knows what she's getting herself into. I have the honor of calling Dr. Rowe a friend. I have known her as long as my mother worked for Waco ISD in the, oh gosh, or a long time ago, let's just say. And ever since then, have had great respect for Dr. Rowe, and we are so honored and feel very blessed that you, well, hopefully, have accepted our call to serve us during this time of transition. So I guess I'll circle back and at this time move to name Hazel Rowe as our interim superintendent.
After that motion, I sure hope it gets a second.
Mr. President,
Mr. Manning.
I consider it an honor and pleasure to second that motion.
All right. Any questions, comments, discussion? Then all those in favor of naming Dr. Hazel Rowe as the interim superintendent of Waco ISD, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion carries unanimously. Dr. Rowe, congratulations. And it is our intent to put you to work immediately. We happen to have an empty chair up here. Dr. Rowe, everybody on the dais has had an opportunity to visit with you. Is there anything you would like to share with the community as you begin this calling?
Well, it's my pleasure again to be able to step up and work with students in Waco ISD. It's always been my heart for our students to be successful. And so to that extent, I am committed that we are going to build connections. We're going to continue connections. We're going to work hard because we got 2 months coming up. That's the first thing I thought about, of testing. So we hope to hit the ground running. We hope our kids feel safe and secure that they can accomplish their goals and that we're going to be there with them to make sure that happens. So I know many of you, and I know your work ethic, and you know my work ethic. So we're going to get busy and work making things happen for our students in school. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda. I don't believe I've been asked to pull anything. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda? Thank you, Mr. Dupuy. Is there a second? Thank you, Ms. Cordweg. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, the consent agenda is adopted. We'll go on to item 9. We've already taken care of item 9A. I don't know that there's a motion necessary on the search process, but I will entertain a motion on item 9C, discussion and possible action on naming a superintendent search consultant.
Mr. President, I move that the board name as our superintendent search consultant TASB Executive Search Services. TASB served as our search firm a couple of years ago. We were all very satisfied with the work that they did, and look forward to working with them again.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Sykes. I want to kind of let the community know generally what the process is, because I don't want anybody to be under the impression we're moving forward too quickly. TASB has assisted this board on the last 2 superintendent searches and has done a really outstanding job for us, including, as Ms. Tikel said, the assistance on the last process. We're going to go through, as we've always done, a listening process where we're going to meet with staff, we're going to meet with parents, we're going to meet with community members, and I suspect, as we did last time, we'll meet with students and really talk about the direction that the community's going, the direction that the district's going, and get some real meaningful input on the characteristics we need to look for in the next superintendent. And that's going to take some time. And so it is our hope that we will have someone in place by the start of next school year, but engaging with the community and then allowing an opportunity for applicants to apply is all going to take some time. And so this is just the first step in a very long process. I will tell you that because Dr. Nelson stayed less than 3 years or 5 years, whatever the agreement was, that TASB's services this time around are free, which is another reason we're willing to move forward, because there'll be no cost. We'll pay their expenses, but there'll be no fee associated. Additionally, a number of members of our community are familiar with Robert Duran, who grew up through Waco ISD, held a number of administrative positions, went on to be a superintendent in some key districts around the state. And Robert will be our contact person and will be assisting us, and is obviously very familiar with the community. And so that's sort of the background on why this item is set for tonight, and we're not going through a request for qualifications or proposals. So anybody have anything else they want to add to that? All right, there's a motion and second that we approve TASB Executive Search Service as our consultant. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, that motion carries unanimously. We'll move on to reports and discussion, goal progress measures. This is part of our Lone Star governance training. Progress measures 1.1, 1.2, and 1.3 specifically on literacy. Ms. Trigg?
Good evening. It's great to see you. Welcome, Dr. Rowe. Tonight, I just want to quickly go over and talk to you a little bit about our K-2 literacy and let you know where we are. Last year, I came to you and we looked at the data and we noticed we were strong in pre-K and we started to slope down as we got to second grade and we were losing momentum. So I'm excited to bring you some data tonight that is showing and using Smarty Ants, and we introduced that last year at this time, using some of that data, which gives us foundational information about what do kids know about the foundational skills they need to be readers. There's a scope and sequence that follows those foundational skills, and they're listed there for you, but it's things like phonics, phonemic awareness, phonological awareness. The overall data here that I've presented to you tonight started in December 2017 when they initially took the first test on Smarty Ants. And that was the data I brought to you last year when we looked at kindergarten, pre-K, kindergarten, first and second. And you'll see the colors that are based in there are based on the grade levels. So blue is pre-K, pink is kindergarten, orange is first grade, and green is second grade. So you can see as you listed down pre-K through second grade, as you look at second grade, we had some concerns there last year. Our kids were still way back in first grade, and so we needed to do some work. So we did, and you can see as in June, that green is a lot bigger. So we really raised the kids there. So this one is a little bit, that piece right there, so you can see that broken out. So our kids really improved in kindergarten from from December last year to February last year. December to June last year, the kindergarten improved from 1,108 kids at grade level or above to 1,153. First grade, 321 to 777. And you can see the work that was done in second grade went from 38 kids to almost 400 that were on grade level when they left second grade. So we were excited about that. We really worked hard with our second grade teachers there. Then this data shows you September to February. So this year, our initial placement started in September. And so we have a little bit more data to look at. So September to February, you can see again that we've made that growth, especially in first grade and second grade. You're starting to see those colors coming out at the end there. So our kindergarten made a growth of about 4% over the last, I'm sorry, not 4%, wrong one. About a 9% growth from 972 to 1,074. First grade went from 371 to 741, which is about a 36% growth since September to February this year. And second grade from 11 to 267. So they made about a 30% growth. So we have a few more months to continue working on that. This last slide of data just kind of gives you some direction of looking at those two pieces side by side. So last year from December to June and December to June and September to February, but also looking across from June to September. And I thought it was interesting to look at this piece because what we really are noticing is that's another place that our children take a slide. And we all have heard of that summer slump. And so some of the things that I'm going to talk to you about we're looking at is how can we continue to help kids once we get them there at the end of school to hold that and continue to hold that for the next year. So I wanted you to have that perspective too. So some of the reasons that we feel like we've made some differences here, we have the strong pre-K program and it continues. Gwen, James, and I work very closely together trying to align kindergarten, first, and second with pre-K. We have a common district literacy understanding through the literacy plan. We have new TEKS and new Strands that start next September, but we started working on them this year, which really ties those foundational skills together a lot better and for students and teachers. There are 4 literacy principles that TEA put out that we're trying to really adhere to, and the teaching and training support that we put into effect. The new TEKS have new strands, and within those strands, they are recursive and they are integrated. So kids are not just learning phonics, but learning how to respond to text, how to comprehend the text, and they're tying all of those pieces together. A good example of that is I was working with a 4th grader one day, and we got to a word, and it was long, and so I said, let's just take it out and sound it out. And so we broke it up and sounded it out, and he looked at me and he says, well, I learned that in 1st grade. I said, well, do that when you're reading. He goes, I can do that when I read? So really helping kids to know we do learn these foundational skills, we learn our phonics, we learn how to break words apart, because that helps us read and get meaning out of text. So I think with the new TEKS, that's really going to help us do that a lot better also. These are the 4 literacy principles, and mainly what they talk about with the new TEKS are that they're interconnected, so that kids are really seeing how they all work together, that the strands are built with thinking built into all of them. So literacy does not just include reading, writing, speaking, and listening, but that thinking piece is a main piece that we should be integrating and teaching kids so that they can use those skills in any content area. The new TEKS really focus on the complexity of text. So we may be doing the same kind of work from kindergarten to high school, but the complexity of the text actually changes. The thinking kind of stays the same. And then that they are the TEKS that are aligned vertically. And we're really helping teachers to understand what does that look like in kindergarten, first grade, second grade, and up, so that when I know I'm teaching in kindergarten, how does that affect them along the way? Some of the resources that we put into place that helped with this year were we put together a literacy leadership cohort, which was made up of 2 teachers, a primary teacher and an intermediate teacher from elementary, and the ISs, or the instructional specialist. And they support and help and learn more about literacy and take it back to their campuses. We did some comprehension training, some deep training with guided reading. We looked at specificity of reading behaviors in different levels, really focused on some early writing as well as 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade writing, and introduced the units of study training, which is through Lucy Calkins. We worked on the word work training so that teachers had a little bit better understanding of phonics and grammar and mechanics and how that creates meaning for our young children. Updated the curriculum to balance literacy so that it's all aligned with the reading, writing, listening, speaking, and thinking. We have continued ongoing teacher support. I have a fabulous team of reading coaches who are all over here today. If you haven't met them all, did y'all stand for a second? They have been working on campuses supporting, thank y'all, supporting teachers and working with them in the classroom to help them through some of this newness. The last thing is we've put some new resources in place, and through Scholastics, they have 350 book libraries in every every classroom. They have another intervention system that they can use, and another leveled library of books that they can use with kids in their guided reading. We're going to continue these things. I just wanted you to kind of get a list that we will continue that literacy leadership cohort, getting feedback from principals and teachers. That's been very valuable this year, really listening to them. We really want to implement some type of summer reading push, even if it's here's a sheet of paper you take and write down every time you read this summer, but something to really get kids involved. So I'm looking into some things for that. And then implement a summer literacy conference for the teachers so that they can develop those skills before school starts next year with the new TEKS coming on. So thank you. Any questions?
Any questions from the board? Great report. Glad to see the growth.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Mr. President. Really just one big event that I want to highlight tonight, and that is the HEB Celebrity Cook-Off tomorrow night to benefit the Waco ISD Education Foundation. This is an incredibly fun event where you get to taste dishes created by people from across the community, including our own Police Chief David Williams will have a table at the event. And We love this event, but we love even more than that what the Waco ISD Education Foundation does for our students. The foundation every year funds innovative classroom grants from teachers that allow them to give our students experiences that wouldn't otherwise be possible, to try and experiment with new opportunities for learning. And they also fund scholarships that for many of our students open the door to college and make a college education that much more in their reach. So it's a great event for a great cause, and we're certainly looking forward to it tomorrow night.
Thank you, Mr. Beer. Any announcements from the dais? Dr. Rowe, thank you again and welcome aboard. And at 7:42, we'll stand adjourned.